Brian Howell, Boulder Daily Camera, covers Colorado, has joined our show on a handful of occasions over the last, almost year. And he joins us now on 365 Sports. Brian, thank you very much. So we're 2 days away from March the 1st. All that means is that, a calendar moves to a different month. How antsy do you think people are, and how antsy is Colorado or those around the university on what the Pac-12 is ever going to announce?
I think a lot of Colorado is just so caught up in the excitement of Deion Sanders that there's not a whole lot of focus with what's going on in the Pac-12. I mean, obviously there is, some concern about what's going on there, but I honestly think there's just so much excitement about, what the potential is for this season that's not the main focus right now.
Brian, do you feel inside the administration there's tension or anything about getting this done and what the decision is going to be? Is it going to be for an overall number of we've got to hit this much money per year, or guarding for the future of the conference as a whole?
Yeah, if there is some, that concern and all that, they don't show it. When I talk to administration, they've always expressed some confidence in the Pac-12. They're going to get it done. But, I do know that, hey, the longer this goes on, I think everybody in the Pac-12 gets a little antsy, and that needs to get done. And I think that, there is some of that, it's got to get done soon, and they want it to get done at a good number.
Brian, you mentioned Deion Sanders there. I mean, can you try and put into words and try to paint the picture of what covering this team was like the last, however many years compared to what the last 3 months have been like in comparison?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to explain because it's such a night and day experience. And, I mean, they haven't even played a game yet. But, I mean, just, Carl Durrell, I liked him as a person, but you couldn't find a more polar opposite as far as, personality and as far as, like, Deion being in the public eye, Carl Durrell liking to shut his door and watch film and just coach football. You couldn't find more polar opposites between the two. And, one of the most glaring difference is just look at the spring game attendance. And, I had a story this last week. This is the first time since like the 80s that they've decided to charge for the spring game. And it's only $10 for general admission. But they sold over 30,000 tickets 2 months before the game. Last year, it was free, and 1,950 people walked up.
Were there free hot dogs or something?
No, there was. I mean, no concessions or anything. It was just, hey, just come in the stadium and watch these guys practice, and not even 2,000 people showed up. They had 1,000 the year before that. I mean, they're going to have more fans in the stands this year than the previous 7 spring games combined.
Isn't that crazy? So, in other words, you're working now, right, Brian? I mean, this Pac-12 thing is one thing, but my God, the beat writer for Colorado football is a different animal.
Oh, yeah, it's way different than it was before. And, it's a lot of it, frankly, is trying to keep up with all the social media channels that, he and his team have. That, you try to find some inside information. It's not that we get access to him that much anymore personally. It's just more of you got to keep track of all the YouTube channels that he's got going on.
I was going to ask, how much of an interesting open window has that been? I mean, not only compared to the coverage that you guys have, but I think just in general, like we see on occasion a blip into the weight room or, a 5-second clip from, practice that was closed off or what have you. But, I mean, this is the day-to-day. This is them, forming the program, so to speak. I mean, just how insightful has that been?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that the fans eat up, certainly. There's not a ton of meat that, we can grab onto as a journalist and, write something about, because a lot of it is, it's his son following around with a camera and, they might be, going out for breakfast or house hunting, things like that. And that's not a whole lot I can write about, but the fans love the inside look at, wow, they get to see the players working out, and they get to see, Shedeur Sanders, even though he's in a T-shirt and shorts, throwing the football, in the indoor practice facility. And so they eat that stuff up because we didn't get that before. It was, we got to see, the fans got to see the players at the spring showcase and then not again until the next fall. So now you get to see them almost daily working out, and the fans love it.
Brian, where do you think their roster is with everything that he has done to it and their ability to compete in the Pac-12 with a very tough opening slate of games?
I think it's much better than it was, but it's still, to me, it's a middle of the Pac-12 type of roster at this point, because USC, Oregon, Washington, Utah, teams like that, to me, are still ahead of them. UCLA probably, Oregon State even. Their roster, I'd probably rank them ahead of CU. So they might be the 6th or 7th best roster in the Pac-12. But that doesn't mean they can't finish higher than that. But I think that with all the changes they made, that's about what they are. But they were 12th last year. So, I think they've moved up to the middle of the pack in one offseason. I think that's pretty impressive.
What about facilities and the commitment when he's there? Colorado obviously is a beautiful campus. The views are great. It's not like this is the first time they've ever been a part of major college football. They used to be one of the top teams, won a national title, played for Big 8 titles, et cetera, Big 12 titles. Where are they with all that?
The facilities are top notch. And, I've heard people that, have gone around the country that they think Colorado's are as good as anybody's. And they've got really good facilities. And, Deion and his team were kind of blown away by it when they first got here. Now they're coming from Jackson State, so it's much different. But, the facilities are top notch, and they can compete with anybody in that regard.
What's been the response, fundraising, NIL? I mean, I guess that goes hand in hand with facilities, but you answered that part of the question. But just the support level, let me ask it that way. How have you seen the support level? That spring game's a great example, but beyond that, do you feel a little bit of momentum in terms of if Deion wants something, there's a better than good chance he's probably going to be able to get the support for it?
Yeah, no question. And I don't know what numbers are as far as the NIL collectives and things like that. I know it seems like there's a lot of momentum going that way, but another sort of smaller example, but he's kind of spearheaded some changes in the dining hall, and he got them to go from 2 full service meals a day to 3, which prompted them to have to hire new staff. They got more equipment, things like that. So he's making an impact in pretty much every area, and he's advocating for the dining staff and the all the different types of auxiliaries around the program. He's wanting them to be top notch along with the players and the coaching staff.
Well, no wonder they didn't win any games. They were starving.
Yeah, they didn't have any protein in them. Brian, if the Deion Sanders story had not happened, had this not occurred, where would Colorado football be?
I still think they'd be better because I think they probably would have gotten somebody like a Bronco Mendenhall or something like that was an upgrade over what they had, and I think they'd still be on the right track. But I think that what they've done is fast-tracked it, and you wouldn't be talking about Colorado. You probably wouldn't be interested in talking to me if it was Bronco Mendenhall. But Deion Sanders is more interesting than a lot of other coaches. But it certainly wouldn't be fast-tracked like this. And Deion obviously was all over Radio Row during Super Bowl week, and he's wearing buff gear. And that's so huge for the program. And, so it's that level that they never could have achieved with any other coach.
All right, back to the Pac-12 for one more question, Brian. Again, Brian Howell, Boulder Daily Camera. Something's got to be announced at some point. Who knows? You would think it's got to be soon. Is there any kind of number, Brian, that Colorado will look at that is below what the Big 12 appears to have with their teams moving forward with their extension, that may be not enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be pretty comparable to the Big 12, and if it's not, then I think Colorado and other schools are going to have to look at maybe some other options. And it's got to be, it can't be much lower, if at all, than the Big 12, and I think that's going to be tough to do.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Continued luck covering that. And Deion Sanders, head football coach at Colorado, and also the Buffaloes, a part of the Pac-12 that, again, that little treading water, if that, at times the head goes bobbing in and out of the water on their future and television media deal.
Yeah, but I think that just